All right, so the next project we're going to do is going to be a little pencil holder. We're going to be using square tubing and steel plate. For this pencil holder, all of the blocks are between 2.5 to 1.5 inch. It looks like we've got small step downs between these. So let's go to the metal and start laying out the tubing to cut. All right, so now that I got my pipe here, I got to lay out my cuts. And for my first cut, I'm going to do 2.5 inches. So I'm going to put a layout line here, 2.5. From that cut, I'm going to go to 2 1/4. From that cut, I'm going to move over to 2, and then my final cut will be at 1 1/4, or 1 3/4, I should say. I'm going to use a square here just to make sure these are all square cuts. So 1, 2, 3, and finally 4, and we've got 2.5, 2 1/4, 2, and then finally with the last cut we have 1 3/4. All right, so the next step here, I'm going to be using the metal cutting bandsaw to cut the pieces off. I'm going to start with the biggest cut, the 1 3/4. And when I'm doing this, I made that square line on there. So I made the line with the square, and that line is going to show me approximately how square my cut is. So I might have to, when I put this in here, I'm going to lower the blade right onto the line. This is going to give me an idea of how square I am working with. And it looks pretty good. Like, I've got it on the line there. It doesn't look crooked. It looks like right where I had my square. So I'm just going to line this up on the line here. I'm going to tighten my vise in. And then I am going to lift this up before I start. And then this tool is pretty simple to use. You start it, you slowly lower it onto our stock, and then you let it go. So that cuts it off. There's a little bit of burrs at the end. I'll clean those up on the grinder. I would actually recommend you doing this is to do them all one at a time, not cut the big piece off. But I did want to show you. Now for the rest of them, I'm just going to speed up the video and move on from there. All right, the next pieces are just our piece of flat stock. 1/8 inch by 1 inch should be sufficient. And we want slightly longer for this than our materials. So maybe I use 1 to kind of set us off, so we have a little bit of hangover. 3, 4, and then let's say 5. So marking right there, that gives us a little bit of extra. If you don't feel like measuring, if you do feel like measuring, somewhere around 4.5 inches should be sufficient. So I'm going to go and I'm going to cut that on the same tool I used to cut the pipes. Alright, so after you get all of your pieces cut, you're going to come over to the grinder. And you're going to grind your pieces to get rid of any little burrs. So you see right here on the thing we got burrs from using the bandsaw to cut them off. So I'm going to clean these up on the grinder, and then you got other pieces on the inside that you can't get with the grinder. We're going to go to the wire wheel. Now I'm only going to do this with one of them, so you have to do the same procedure for all of your pieces. Okay, so that was the grinder, and then we go over here to the wire wheel. You definitely want to wear gloves on the wire wheel because the wire wheel will try to grab the piece from you and throw it. We don't have on this wire wheel any of the protective features. And there you have it. You get a nice cleaned up piece, no burrs on it, ready for the welder. Alright, so when you got all your pieces and you're ready to weld, you should kind of try to order the pieces in the fashion that you want to weld them. We're going to leave a one space gap as we laid out before for our welding. And this can be approximate. We can always grind the ends. But we do want to try to like make a 90 degree with at least the first one. So we can use special magnets to try to do that, or you can just kind of eyeball it. It's up to you. Or you can bring a square in here, which I'm going to get right now. And the key here with the first weld is you want to really get that first one at a squared up 90 degree angle and ready to go. So holding the square there, that takes off any doubt I might have that we are square to the metal. And what I want to do is first I just want to get that first piece on there with about a perfect 90, and I just want to lay a bead to get it to stick. It's centered. It is squared up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to lay, and I got it all squared, a bead right on here. And from there I'll do the same for the other pieces. So right there what I've done is I've just created one bead right there to hold it in place. I can then verify if I need to that I've got a 90 degree angle here, no gaps. And what that'll allow me to do is now with the rest of the pieces, I can actually go and just squeeze them tight against this piece. And if there's a gap on the bottom, it's okay, because I know this piece is at a 90 degree angle. I'm going to get a glove on for the rest of this. And I will begin. So once again, like I said, you just start with the bead. Small tack weld like that. I'm going to do another one for each piece. Just to get it to stick on there. And then once I've gotten all 4 of the pieces on, that one's a little loose. Didn't get it 100%, so I'm going to do both of these. Tack on both. And then I'll get the final one on here. And the final tack. Okay, once I get all 4 of the tacks on, then I can go in because they're all in place, and I want to get nice and close and just get my bead in there. Okay, drag a nice bead across the one side. Although it's probably overkill, we do the same to the other side. And then it's really overkill, but if you would like to, you can do a tack on each end. And it's good and hot, but there you go, you have it. The pencil holder project.